Hey, how we doing, guys? Gray here, and today we've got our week 3 battle of the PAC. We're going up against MattOshea and his Montreal Milotics for what is probably about the 4th time at least in the last couple of months. We faced off in BBL, we faced off in UBL, APA, and now here in the PAC. I don't think we faced off another time, but it feels like we have. Like, we just cannot avoid each other. He is a fantastic content creator and a very, very good coach. So make sure you go check him out. His link will be down in the description below, as well as all the coaches for the I'd say APA, the PAC for this season. If you enjoy the content, please do a like, subscribe. But we're going to go ahead and get into this one. It is going to be a post-com because I was literally just woken up from a nap. I wasn't feeling particularly well. And yeah, so I decided it was probably better just to post-com this game than to have like a crappy live com where I'm coughing through the entire thing. I still actually have a cough, so I might cough through the entire thing anyway. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this one. You'll see the sets as they pop up on screen. Hopefully I'll remember to edit them in. But yeah, we're bringing Slowking, Beware, Tapu Lele, Talonflame, Thundurus, and Garchomp. He brought pretty much what I expected. I think the Whimsicott was a 50-50, mainly because I have a Heatran, I have a Talonflame, and I have a Psychic Surge Tapu Lele, so I thought that maybe it probably wouldn't get that much value. But he decided to bring it. I guess the speed tier is kind of nice for Garchomp to be able to Moonblast it. It can Leech Seed, Talonflame, and Heatran if the Psychic Surge is not up. So it makes some sense, but I definitely expected something else. I don't remember what, but I expected something else in that spot instead of Whimsicott. But I guess because I didn't think it had a great matchup, it's probably better for me that it's there. So the main threats on his team, of course, the Kyurem. Of course, the Urshifu, if it's banded. My Slowking is kind of my switch into it. It still takes like 60% from a banded U-turn, so not really much of a switch in. But we got we got Defiant Thundurus against 2 Intimidate users. I'm just hoping that at some point I can bring in my Thundurus and be able to make use of that. We are Choice Scarf to try and outspeed everything on his team. Outspeeding Choice Scarf Gengar, because Gengar, again, was a bit of an issue for this team. We do have 2 Assault Vest users to try and deal with his offense, but he also has an Incineroar that wants to knock off all of our items, so it's not great. However, he only has 1 Rocker, and that's Lando, and if Lando doesn't get to set up rocks in this game, then we're in a pretty good spot. So yeah, good luck, have fun to Matt. I say if we set up rocks, we're in a good spot. In terms of like Talonflame, if it gets knocked off, because it's probably one of our better switch-ins to the Incineroar, then we're in a pretty rough spot with Talonflame. But he leads off with the Kyurem. I'm quite okay just taking a hit if he is Choice Scarf, because the most likely move he's going to click is Freeze Dry. It's pretty free against my team. It's Freeze against my team. No, it didn't work. So I'm just going to click U-turn. If he's Choice Scarf, we probably take about half, but if he is not Scarfed, we'll find out here, and we can play accordingly. We see that he isn't Scarfed because we are able to get that tiny bit of chip. It's actually respectable damage from a U-turn from bulky Talonflame. It's not particularly invested. It's also timid instead of because of the Overheat Hurricane for double Intimidators. And we're just going to go on to Lele. Lele is our dedicated answer to this. If he is Choice Specs with Ice Beam, bit of a problem. If he is Choice Specs Flash Cannon, even more of a problem. But he goes to the Freeze Dry, and as we're going to see, he is not Specs. This is doing roughly just a little bit more. I was looking at this and it's kind of like modest boots, I thought. But it could also be a boosting item, be it Wise Glasses or Never Melt Ice. Regardless, I'm pretty happy to throw off a Draining Kiss. I just need to try and keep this Tapu Lele as healthy as possible. And we do about 50% with Draining Kiss to that Kyurem. In comes the Incineroar, and this is going to be a bit of a problem because we're going to see this is, I assume, Assault Vest max special defense, or at least like with some special defense investment, because we do very little damage. If it was just max special defense, we still did about 25%, but I don't believe that was 25 at all. And now we've got to just decide what's going to take this knockoff. We are Assault Vest on our Beware, so we can take a potential special set if it's got Overheat. We don't really want to, but at the same time I think knockoff is incredibly free. We do resist it, and honestly the Assault Vest on Beware is probably the most like disposable item on our team. Because like I say, I don't know whether or not that Lando has got rocks yet. And Lando does pivot around on my team pretty nicely, as well as this Incineroar. Like Incineroar Lando, as you're going to see in this match, just kind of click U-turn and manage to like pivot around my team for so long. Here I'm just going to calc see if after I've had the Assault Vest knocked off, whether Overheat will knock me out. And I believe after a calc it doesn't. If he's just like Flare Blitz, then that's even better for us, because he is then going to take some recoil damage, and it's doing much less than Overheat would. Even if it's like max attack versus no special attack, Overheat was still doing more because of Fluffy. And so I'm pretty happy just to go for a Drain Punch. If he goes out into the Lando, he goes out into the Lando. This pretty much checks Lando as well. I think I just stay in. I'm pretty sure I do. Or do I switch out? No, I switch out. I think I Scout for the Overheat. Yeah, I'm going to Scout for the Overheat instead of staying in and clicking Drain Punch, which I thought I did in that turn. But I think there is a turn in which I do stay in and click Drain Punch. Yeah, and then he's going to hard switch as well. This tells me that he might not have the special fire move to Beware. We also outsped, so I think I had a bit of a speed creep. You'll see it when it comes in on on the screen, but I'm pretty sure I had a speed creep for the Incineroar. And I could just go for an Overheat here, but I don't want to take a Rock Slide particularly. I think U-turn is probably just my best play. Try and pivot back out into Beware and click a button. I don't even U-turn. Okay, I'm maybe scouting for Scarf here. That makes a lot of sense. I'm scouting for Scarf. Weirdly enough, I actually do make some plays that make some kind of sense in this game. As he's just going to hard withdraw. Don't get much information outside the fact that he's not Scarf, because he is slower than my Talonflame. Also didn't set up rocks or anything like that, which you thought maybe would have come out, but here we are back in the Incineroar versus Beware. And I believe here I overpredict. No, I just go for the Drain Punch. I do just go for the Drain Punch. Not the turn I overpredict, but foreshadowing, I overpredict at some point. As yeah, he just goes out into the Lando. This U-turn pivoting core is very annoying for my Beware, because it really is not doing all that much damage. Maybe if I just bought like lefties with Swords Dance, I could have clicked the button at some point. But Assault Vest was kind of necessary for the Gengar and for a potential special Lando, which I think I also was scouting for when it first came in. Or is it on this turn I'm going to scout for the... Might be this turn I'm scouting for the Psychic, so I go out into my Talonflame, thinking that if he's going to switch, he'll probably U-turn. Or do I Ice Punch? I don't remember. Okay, I Ice Punch on this turn. There was so many turns with Lando and Incineroar in this game on my Beware. I do not remember any of these turns. But at some point, we're going to be in this position where Beware and Lando are in, and I go out into my Talonflame. At some point. So, yeah, he's going to go out into the Urshifu this time as I go for the Drain Punch. Sorry, for the Ice Punch. And it does nothing. It does nothing. So, of course, I'm going to just hard switch out. Slowking is kind of like a weird sort of mon that doesn't really do a whole lot in this game, but is kind of just a defensive pivot. Potential, if I get in the right position, I can Carmine. And actually, Carmine... with the dual stabs is pretty effective against this team, but just getting myself into that position is going to be tough. We're going to see you go for a U-turn, and that he isn't banded, because like I said at team preview, if it's banded it does like 60%, and that does almost exactly half. So that just seems like it's potentially adamant no item, because I think Jolly no item, I say no item, no boosting item. Jolly was doing 50% max, so unless he got a max roll, it looks like it's adamant, and that's a little bit worrying. But it does mean that potentially my Lele can outspeed, depending on his investment, because I'm not a particularly quick Lele in this game at all. So Slowking is unfortunately going to be in this position where it's now going to be the subject of U-turn spam, which is kind of rough for it. Lando hits harder than Urshifu, so assuming that it's like Adamant Lando and Adamant Urshifu, I'm just going to switch out. I expect the Earthquake? No, the U-turn to come out. So I'm going to go out into my Flame Body Talonflame in hopes that I can potentially get the Flame Body, because this is one of the few things that really stops my Thundurus late game. So I need to try and work towards chipping that thing down. It's not going to be the easiest though, because it keeps clicking that U-turn button and he's not giving me any damage, which he shouldn't do, obviously. But here we go, back into the Incineroar, back into this vortex, the never-ending fun of Intimidate U-turn spam that I'm having to deal with here. So I'm just going to U-turn, I believe, on this. It may be predictable, but I'm just going to go out into my Beware, go back on our bullshit, back into the Beware. We actually get a crit on that U-turn, which certainly helps because we need as much damage as we can on this thing. It's super annoying for my team to deal with, and considering I was at -1, that U-turn would probably have done about 3% without the crit, so that bit of chip is greatly appreciated. As we just go back into the Internet Funny Bear, and here he makes a nice read and goes for the Flamethrower. Turns out he did have the special move all along, who knew? But we do know we outspeed, so I'm pretty happy just to go for a Drain Punch. We would Drain Punch enough health back from this to be able to take the next Flamethrower as well. And it kind of covers most switches apart from the Lando, but again, like, Lando is not really doing too much damage to me outside of having Psychic or potential Superpower. So he actually goes out into his Urshifu here, which I thought was a bit of a weird play, because the Drain Punch was, in my opinion, really obvious. And we're going to do a good chunk of damage, but it looks like it's relatively bulky on the Urshifu. It's certainly got some HP investment from what I could tell. And because of that, I'm pretty happy, since I know it's not banded, I actually take a close combat from this position, unless he is like Expert Belt. Which again, I don't think he was, because he wasn't a boosting item against my Slowking. So unless he's like Black Belt, he's not taking me out with a close combat. I'm just going to throw off the Zen Headbutt. I would happily trade my Beware for this Urshifu. I have absolutely no qualms in doing that. So I will just Zen Headbutt. It will do potentially enough. Looking at that damage, it might barely live, but if it's on like 1 HP, then I'm in a much better spot. As he actually goes for the Bulk Up, and so this means my Zen Headbutt is certainly not killing, but it should still 2-hit KO from this range. And unfortunately, we are going to miss our Zen Headbutt. And so this Urshifu is now at +1. I've got to go into my Thundurus afterwards to revenge kill this, because I don't want to risk a Hurricane on my bird. And realistically, outside of U-turn, I guess I could go into my Slowking and take that U-turn to at least make him pivot out. But in the end, I'm just like, sacking off my Beware here is kind of the best play. All it's doing is giving him all of the momentum, so I don't mind too much. It's not particularly great against anything else on the rest of his team, so I'm just going to throw off another Zen Headbutt, try and get as much damage as I can on this, if I'm able to get anything at all. As he actually goes for the Surging Strikes, and this is certainly not going to knock me out, because, like I say, close combat wouldn't have taken me out from neutral, so a Surging Strikes is not super effective, even at +1. That's not going to be doing enough. And this time we do actually hit the Zen Headbutt. I would have smashed my head against the table, I think, if I had missed that one as well. I would have Zen Headbutt the table. Yeah, I'd probably missed, though, let's be honest. So, yeah, we do get that damage off. I'm going to commit to sacking Beware. It does the least for me in this game at this point. And I've got it now low enough that I don't even need to go into my Thundy. I can just go into Garchomp. Garchomp is something he defends less against, and it will be able to pick up the kill with Earthquake from here. If he goes out into his Lando, then that's a little bit problematic. If he goes out into the Whimsicott, I've got my switches into Whimsicott, so I'm fine with that. Garchomp is always the best play, but I have to click Earthquake. I can't possibly like fuck around and try and Swords Dance, because if he just stays in, then I will die. I will die to the Surging Strikes. So I'm not sure what his last move on this was, whether or not it was a fighting move or not, I'm unsure. I would assume not, because he would have clicked it against the Beware, you would assume. But it could be Aqua Jet last move, but he doesn't actually click it here, so if he had it, then I don't know why he wouldn't click it to try and get some damage off. I couldn't tell you what the last move on this was. Potentially Poison Jab for something. What's my fairy type? No, my fairy type is I don't know. I have no idea what the last move is. I'm not going to try and... The Urshifu's dead, okay? The Urshifu's gone. It dies to the Earthquake. If I wasn't Life Orb, then I think that Earthquake was a roll, but because I'm Life Orb, it's not. And now Matt makes arguably the most questionable play, in my opinion. I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, he has Lando, he has Whimsicott. I expected one of them to come out, but actually goes on to the Gengar. I'm like, okay, is this thing Specs? Because Specs Dazzling Gleam potentially would scare me out if I'm not bulky. I am fairly bulky on this Garchomp, so I'm not going to die to a Specs Dazzling Gleam from here. I think Dazzling Gleam into Life Orb would knock me out. At least it'll be close. If he's just Sash Nasty Plot, that's a problem, but he just goes for the Shadow Ball. And I'm like, okay, well, he must be trying to, like, 2-hit KO me with Shadow Ball, maybe. Maybe Sash. He wasn't Sash, he just dies. I'm happy to take the Gengar from him, because Gengar was a problem for my team, but yeah. So now we're up 5-4. I definitely didn't expect that to happen, but yeah, the Gengar just getting sacked like that was fantastic for me. And in comes the Whimsicott. I can't really stay in. I can't take a Moonblast from this range. I do have a pretty good switch in my Talonflame because it resists both stabs. A knockoff would be a little bit annoying, and a Leech Seed would also be a little bit annoying, but I can just U-turn on a Leech Seed, so it's not the end of the world. So he's going to reveal the sub. I could have just gone for a Fire Fang, I guess, but it was never worth it. I was never winning that 1v1, so I was always better switching out and preserving my Garchomp. And the Talonflame is just generally going to be better. I'm seeing this sub, it's got to be Leech Seed. I'm contemplating just going hard into my Lele. This would have been the right play in the end, because he wouldn't be able to Leech Seed me, but he can Moonblast me and get me chipped down a little bit. So I just go for the Overheat, because I'm thinking if he goes for the Leech Seed, then like I'll probably just break his sub and then switch out the next turn. In hindsight, he would just sub up on my next play anyway, because I overheat, I break the sub, I do actually hit, which is good. And yeah, he's just going to sub up on my U-turn, so we're in actually no better a spot. In fact, we would be in a better spot if we switched out to Lele on that turn on the Leech Seed, assuming he was Prankster. I think that was another thing I was worried about, was whether or not he was Prankster, and though I'm bulky Talonflame, and this doesn't necessarily tell me whether or not he is Prankster or not, I just kind of at this point, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to assume that this is Prankster, because it went first. So, yeah, I'm just going to U-turn, go out to my Lele. I'm able to break a sub with a Draining Kiss, which is huge, because it means that I get a little bit of health back, and his Moonblasts are doing so little to me. The only issue I'd have is if he gets any kind of special attack drops. If he gets a special attack drop, then his Incineroar comes in for free and doesn't take much damage at all. My Draining Kiss will no longer break a sub, or it's a roll to break the sub, if he is, yeah, if he gets me down to -1. So basically, this Lele is going to be free to click Draining Kiss over and over as long as I don't get the special attack drop. And this Whimsicott set really can't do a whole lot for me. The only issue now would be if he is knockoff, because knocking off my Assault Vest and then going for Moonblast is doing more than I'm able to recover with Draining Kiss, simply because the Whimsicott doesn't have a high HP stat. So I'm contemplating what move I go for. Draining Kiss is always my play because it breaks a sub. I think I'm just calcing there to make sure, like 100% it breaks a sub of max HP, and it does. So yeah, he's going to go for the Moonblast, and he does get a special attack drop. Fortunately, we hit it with a U-turn, so the sub is going to break because we got 2 lots of damage on it. However, the sub will not break from now on from a Draining Kiss. So, very unfortunate. And I do think that he potentially switches. We don't gain a lot from that for breaking that sub, but it's not the end of the world. Like, we're gaining enough back, I think. I'm contemplating switching out, which is not the play. I am contemplating just switching out into Slowking on potential Incineroar, I want to say. But I decided it's probably just best to try and keep breaking subs even, or to Moonblast the Incineroar if it comes in. Also, because we only revealed Draining Kiss, maybe he thought we didn't have the Moonblast, but we do have the Moonblast. That crit didn't matter. Unfortunately, we get the crit on the sub and not a crit on an actual Mon, but it is what it is. Can't complain about hacks, really. If I get the hacks there and kill his Whimsicott, that's like worse than the special attack drop, so yeah, I do expect him to switch out, but Moonblasting is always still my play. In comes the Incineroar. This thing is just not taking any damage, and I believe this Moonblast, I don't even think it puts it under half because I'm at -1. If I manage to get him, if I manage to not have the special attack drop, then yeah, he would be put under half. It wouldn't have 2 KO'd from that range, but now I have like no switch into a knockoff at all. I'm just going to go out into my Talonflame, and that's like my best way of checking this now. Effectively, I don't feel like I need Talonflame for much, because the Whimsicott kind of 1v1s me, as he does go for the knockoff. That's going to do a good chunk of damage, but a second one will not knock me out, and unless he's running Earthquake here, I'm pretty happy just to Roost. If he Earthquakes on my Roost, then that's just a good play. Like what can I say? I don't think it knocks me out. Judging off that knockoff damage, I don't think an Earthquake will knock me out from here. He then stays in, and I'm like, okay, well, he's just clicked Earthquake. If that's the case, then unfortunate, but he just clicks U-turn instead. He just clicks U-turn, and at this point, I'm thinking about my end game. If I can get rid of the Whimsicott, and I can get some more chip damage on the Lando, then it's arguably getting close to the Thundurus endgame. Especially because I don't think anything left is Scarfed. No, because the Kyurem I thought was maybe Boots, maybe boosting item. If it was Scarfed, it doesn't outspeed my Thundurus anyway. So here I should have just gone for the Overheat. I misplay here because I'm a little bit scared of like an SD variant or a Rock Polish variant. So I go for the Hurricane, and unfortunately I miss, and he just goes for a Rock Slide. And that chip damage would have been really, really nice. Unfortunately, we're not going to get it. And our Talonflame kind of goes down for free, which doesn't put me in a great spot. Not a great spot at all. Because if I got that chip damage, then my Garchomp can come in and click Scale Shot. And Scale Shot would only need like 3 hits to be able to knock out the Lando out after that. And we'd be outspeeding everything. If he had gone out into Whimsicott, I would just click Fire Fang. But unfortunately, we didn't hit the Hurricane, so it's a null point, because now I need to get that chip damage through other means. I could have gone out into my Slowking, but I think Slowking is better just to try and take a hit from the Kyurem later on in the game. So I'm pretty happy just to click Scale Shot. If the Whimsicott comes in, I just go hard into my Lele. Whimsicott really can't do a whole lot to me, it's already been proven that. So I'm pretty happy just click Scale Shot. If he doesn't switch out, then I'm in a better spot. I just need like 3 hits, 4. Like if I can get all 5 hits, then that's just absurd, and that's pretty much hacks at that point in my favor. But if I can get 3 hits, then I'm in a really good spot here. We get 1, we get 2, which is a crit, and unfortunately we only get the 2, but at least we got the crit, so it kind of makes up for it to an extent. The 3rd hit would have put it even further in, or even closer in range of being able to be like killed off by other things on my team. Namely, the Thundy knockoff would have been much closer, but it is what it is. We aren't able to get that much damage. And now I'm in a position where I kind of just got to go into Slowking, I believe, and try and get off the Scald. Do I go Slowking, or do I go... Yeah, I go Slowking here. Yup. Because I know I'll take the knockoff because of the Colbur. I can take the U-turn. And I believe I just go for the Slack Off, because I expect the U-turn to come out into either the Kyurem or the Whimsicott. I want to keep this thing as healthy as possible. And yeah, Slack. I could click Calm Mind, but I'd be at too low a health from the U-turn to be to be able to do anything afterwards. So I just go for the Slack Off. And out comes the U-turn. I take this one pretty well, except for it's a crit. And I don't take it particularly well. It's a good job I did click Slack Off though, because at least I'm able to get myself up to a reasonable amount of health. But it does mean that my Slowking kind of has to switch out to be able to do anything at this point. In comes the Kyurem. The Kyurem comes in, and I should have arguably just gone straight onto Lele after this, because the Slack Off gives me a decent amount of health. Lele is my designated switch into this. And I could have taken the Freeze Dry just fine, because Freeze Dry is arguably the button he's going to click here if he's going to click anything at all. I go for another Slack Off, because I'm thinking if he's not boosting item, I might be able to Slack Off to a point in which I can Calm Mind, as he actually goes for the sub, so I get back up to full health. And he does show that he's not like leftovers or anything. I assume he's got Roost. You like got to assume it's Roost. At this point I think it's Roost, sub, Freeze Dry, Ice Beam. Maybe he's running like double ice, because he hasn't shown the flash cannon or anything. He goes for the Freeze Dry as I go for a Calm Mind, and this Freeze Dry does so much damage, way too much damage for me to be able to do anything. So I click the Calm Mind. It's not going to help me. I should have just switched. I went to Tapu Lele, because or I clicked Expanding Force and broke the sub. Assuming that it wasn't like max HP, I think Expanding Force always broke the sub. So yeah, here I'm just going to go out into Lele. I need to still preserve this Slowking to an extent. The Cobra will help me against the Incineroar, and maybe I'll take a hit and Scold it. Same with the Lando. After the Regenerator, I should still be able to take a hit. I can Scold it. And the Whimsicott is the Whimsicott. Like, I've got this Tapu Lele. As long as the Lele's alive, then I'm in a pretty good spot. So I can just go out to my Lele, which, even though it's behind a sub, is still beneficial for me, because his Freeze Dry does, what, 40 points of damage, roughly, I think it was? 134 down to 98, so it does just under 40 damage. And this Draining Kiss is going to gain so much health back because of Kyurem's HP. For if he's max 8 or just 201 HP for like Seismic Toss and stuff, then I'm gaining like 40 HP back, near enough. So I'll Draining Kiss, I'll always break a sub, and you're going to see how much health I get back from this. It's absolutely absurd. His Freeze Dry is doing like 38, I go from 62 to 100. I'm recovering more than his Freeze Dry is doing from breaking a sub. So he is not in a good position with this. At this point, Lele looks like maybe it itself might be able to win this game. It's going to struggle with the Incineroar, it's going to struggle with the Lando a little bit. But certainly, Whimsicott and Kyurem, it's got it covered. I've still got Thundy that I haven't brought out at any point in the back. As we're going to Draining Kiss and do so much damage, we actually get less health back. No, about the same health back from this as we did from the Kyurem. And I was tempted to Draining Kiss again. Arguably it was my play, but I thought if he goes for a Moonblast, doesn't get the special attack drop, and I click Draining Kiss, sure I'll be at more health, but it doesn't look like it's going to knock it out actually. So Moonblast is always my play. Even if he gets a special attack drop, we should be able to knock it out. And also, we just knock it out with the most amount of health left on our side. So yeah, it doesn't do a whole lot, but he does get the special attack drop again, which really sucks. Like, the special attack drop is kind of huge here, because it means that I can't do much to the Incineroar again. I can't do much, or I won't be able to knock out Lando from the range it's at. And then if he was to go into his Kyurem, then I think Draining Kiss was then a roll to break sub. Or, maybe. If it was max HP, it was a roll to break sub. So he goes down to Lando. And I realise at this point I run out of Lando switch-ins. If he Earthquakes, then I do die. I just die. But I think he's going to go for a knockoff. I have Slowking, I have this, and I have the Thundy. Knockoff is just a free play, but it doesn't knock me out. So, like I said earlier, I just need the damage on this. And had we not got the special attack drop, then maybe this Moonblast knocks it out. If I remember rightly, actually, it takes this pretty well. I don't think with the special attack drop it would have knocked it out. It would have been close, but Yeah, this is now arguably in range. I should just let my my Lele die here. I don't know what I want to keep this around for. It's really not doing a whole lot for me. So at this point my play is to sack off the Lele, but I'm pretty sure I go into my Slowking for some reason. Yeah, I just go into Slowking. Not entirely sure why, but I did. I think I was still thinking, oh, I need the Lele for Kyurem, but I'm now at way too low health to be able to take a hit from the Kyurem. Whilst I kind of need my Slowking at a better amount of health to be able to take a hit from the Kyurem, potentially. So, yeah, that was a misplay. I think I was a little bit rattled at this point, because I thought, like, without the special attack drop, maybe I could knock out that Lando, like, etc, etc. Like, there was a few things that kind of got me a little bit rattled, but I'm just going to swap out. Slowking can still do something in this game, whilst realistically my Lele can't, and I think I realised that after I swap out the Slowking, or swap into the Slowking. So yeah, just going to go back into Lele, sack this off. I expected the U-turn here, and U-turn puts me in the best position, because if he goes into Incineroar, I can go out into my Thundy and click Superpower. If he goes out into his... In fact, if he goes into Incineroar, I can probably just click Slack Off with my Slowking and get back up on health, because I don't think Knockoff is doing enough. Especially because it looked like it was pretty specially defensive. It might be mixed attacking as well. So he just goes out into Kyurem. I don't defend against this Mon at all. So I've got one play. Literally one play. I'm here, I think I'm just calcing to see how much Superpower does from Thundy. And it doesn't look good. I need damage on this Kyurem before I can knock it out. So I need to go into Slowking first and live a hit, and then go for Expanding Force. If he doesn't give me this damage on Kyurem, then I've got to bank on a roll, effectively, on Superpower, because it was, if he was just like max HP, I think it did 60-something% min, and it's kind of hard to tell whether or not that would do enough. So I just go Slowking. I'm running very low on time at this point, but you know, it is what it is. I had to take my time to try and figure out this endgame. I go for Expanding Force because I just need to get the necessary damage on this. And whilst I was waiting here, I was just calculating to see how much Superpower was doing to Lando, and that is also looking like it's going to be a roll. So he goes for the Freeze Dry. This is a roll to knock me out as well, I believe, and we are able to live on 6. I don't remember how much the first Freeze Dry did, but it did a lot. And it put me down to 76. So it did 135. So yeah, I think that was a roll, potentially not to even knock me out. But we go for the Expanding Force, and that does a lot of damage. Expanding Force Slowking hits it like an absolute truck. But we are going to now sack off our Slowking, and we just got to hope. We just got to hope and pray that Superpower is going to do enough to specifically the Lando. Everything else will definitely like not take a hit at this point. It's just coming down to whether or not that Lando is able to take the Superpower. So yeah, just gonna go Scarf Thundy. I have one button to click. Though I've got like 20 seconds left to click them all, I've just got to click it. I take like a little bit of time. It's like I'm gonna click the right button. I'm not gonna fuck up and accidentally click something else. But because he has 2 Defiant uses as well, Superpower is going to remain at neutral. So I'm going to get the attack drop and the defense drop here. An Intimidator has to come in, which will proc my Defiant, and then I will be -1 attack and then +2 attack from the Defiant. And it's going to happen twice. I've just got to keep clicking it. He goes out into his Incineroar, I guess hoping that maybe he can live this Superpower, but I don't think he can. I don't think there's any world in which max HP will be able to take it from here. I don't know. I didn't actually calculate this. But we should just take out the Incineroar here, and then it comes down to the Lando. What I think he's trying to do here is either like take a hit with his Incineroar, or he is trying to lower my defenses twice, so that if he lives that final Superpower, then he can go for maybe a knockoff and knock me out at -2 defense. Because Lando hits it absurdly hard. I wouldn't be surprised if knockoff knocks me out, and so he doesn't have to risk the Rock Slide miss. So Matt is absolutely playing to his win con here, which is live this hit and hit me at -2 defense. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, that looks very close. I think it's like 13% min to knock him out. And I don't know. I don't know if this is in range or not. I've just got to cross my fingers and hope. We click the superpower and we are able to pick up the kill. So Thundy brings it home after a game where we definitely got a bit unlucky with like the Zen Headbutt miss, the special attack drops on both Moonblasts that he clicked. But we also did get a crit on his Incineroar, which I don't know in the end game whether or not that mattered. Potentially if he was at a bit more health it could have, but it's kind of swings and roundabouts. The fact that he got the special attack drop and then was able to switch into his Incineroar, so he took less from Moonblast. It probably cancels each other out. But yeah, good game to Matt. That was a wild game. I thought I had lost. I didn't think there was much of a way back in it. The Gengar sack was still super weird to me. I still don't understand it at this point. Maybe he was just thinking I'd be scared of Gleam and switch, but I was bulky. I was not scared of the Gleam. But yeah, make sure to go check out Matt. Make sure to check out his side of the battle. And subscribe to all of the coaches who are involved in the PAC this season. There's a whole bunch of people we haven't played before, so I'm really looking forward to playing them. Should we actually play? I think we play like a couple of new people, but there's not all of them, unfortunately. But yeah, if you enjoy the battles, please leave a like, subscribe, so you don't miss out on future content. The support is greatly appreciated. And until the next one, have a great day, guys. Peace.